Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai. Jaya Shri Gopal, Jaya Gopal, Shri Gopal, Jaya Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtottara Satam. His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Shri Gopal Ji Ki Jai. Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So this is our second day in our discussion on the subject of surrender. The topic is the art of surrender. I'll briefly recapitulate what we did yesterday, what we discussed yesterday. We began the discussion by speaking about how the word surrender has such a negative connotation in the world today. And it is generally an indication of disgrace, defeat, dishonor, humiliation, and so on. And especially when it pertains to things like war, sport, and so on and so forth, people don't like the word surrender. But they don't realize that surrender is basically our nature. In our natural condition, we are surrendered to the Supreme Lord. Even in the unnatural conditioned state, we are surrendered, but indirectly. The conditioned mentality is that it wants to avoid any process of surrender because we don't want to be answerable to anybody. We don't like any authority. Rather, we want to be very independent and do whatever our mind says. But that is not quite the best for our spiritual life or for our happiness. So we saw many reasons why we should surrender. The first reason was that we have no choice. Either we surrender directly to Krishna or we surrender indirectly to Krishna through the medium of his material energy. And as we saw yesterday, this indirect surrender is a very painful process. Srila Prabhupada in his bhajan that he wrote when he was on the ship going from Calcutta to America in 1965, he wrote 2 songs. And in one of those songs, he sung, Tumi mor chira sathi bhuliya mayar lathi khaiyachi janma janmantare. He's telling Krishna, Tumi mor chira sathi bhuliya, that you are my eternal companion, I have forgotten. Khaiyachi mayar lathi, so I've been getting beaten by the stick of Maya. Lathi means stick. Janma janmantare, for many, many lives. I have forgotten that you are my eternal friend, my eternal companion. So instead of surrendering to our eternal friend, Krishna, we have been surrendering to Maya and getting beaten by her stick, the Maya stick. So in any case, it makes sense to surrender directly to Krishna. We also saw that surrender to Krishna is an easy process by which we can overcome the sticks of Maya. Daivihi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mamevaya prapakyanti maya metam tarantite. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that this Maya is his divine energy, and to cross over it is practically impossible. But for one who has surrendered to Krishna, it becomes easy. Then Krishna explains in the famous Sarvadharman Parityajya verse that if one simply surrenders to him, one becomes free from all sinful reactions, and therefore the process of worshipping Krishna need not wait till one has become free from sinful reactions. In other words, the surrendering process to Krishna is a shortcut. It saves much time, energy, and so on. Also, the surrendering process is the platform of knowledge. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudevah sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. Krishna again explains in the Bhagavad Gita that after many, many lifetimes of trying to acquire knowledge, one who has attained perfect knowledge understands that Lord Krishna is everything, and therefore he surrenders to Krishna and becomes his devotee. So surrender represents the perfection of knowledge. And it takes many lifetimes to come to this point. And what is that knowledge? The knowledge is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am his eternal servant. Once we have this knowledge, then we surrender. And having surrendered, what do? We perform devotional service, which will eventually bring us to the platform of pure love of God, Krishna Prema. So this is the goal of surrender. Surrender is a platform on which bhakti is based. Srila Prabhupada actually says in one lecture about the Sarvadharman Parityajya verse that Krishna says very loudly in the 18th chapter. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita it doesn't say that Krishna spoke loudly, but Prabhupada is emphasizing this point as if to say that on the battlefield, Krishna may have been speaking in a certain tone of voice and a volume, but when it came to this verse, Sarvadharman Parityajya, then he started speaking very loudly so that everyone could hear and everyone could understand that this is the essence of my teaching. This is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, that you must surrender to me completely. So now, having spoken about why we should accept the process of Sharanagati, surrender, let us now talk about the Sharanagata. That means one who has surrendered, one who has accepted the process of surrender. We mentioned yesterday that it is one of the items of sadhana bhakti for us to perform devotional service in a state of surrender to Krishna. And when we do this, then we become very dear to Krishna. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching Sanatana Goswami, there is a nice section in which he glorifies the process, the qualities of a devotee of Krishna. He says the devotees have many, many qualities, but 26 among them are said to be the chief qualities. And one of the qualities of these 26 is called Krishnaika Sharana. And we can add a 27th quality in this age, that a good devotee always switches off his or her mobile phone before coming into the lecture. We have to adapt according to time, place and circumstance. The 27th quality of a Vaishnava. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not mention this. And he also did not mention that there is another Purana called the Mobile Purana, which speaks about various kinds of unpleasant destinations that are reserved for those whose mobile phones ring in the class. Just like in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, there are descriptions of many, many planets, hellish planets. For this sin one goes there, for that sin one goes there. In the olden days, life was so peaceful. We didn't have to bother about so many distractions. Anyone sat together anywhere and had nice katha, nice kirtan, and it was such a pleasant atmosphere. So anyway, one of the qualities of the 26 qualities is Krishna Eka Sharana. Krishna Eka Sharana. That means the devotee takes exclusive shelter of Krishna. Now, some of the other qualities are very nice. Can you mention some of the other qualities among the 26 qualities? Just 2 or 3? Sorry? Compassion, alright. Humility, sober, grave, success. He's an expert, he's a poet, enthusiastic, alright. So many qualities Mahaprabhu has mentioned. But this is the 12th quality among the 26. And it is explained by the Acharyas that this is the most important quality. That the pure devotee of the Lord is fully surrendered to Krishna. When this one quality is there, then all the other qualities automatically come. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatir kinchana sarvair gunes tatra samasate sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena sati dhavato vahi. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it is said that for one who has become a surrendered soul, all the good qualities that are there in the demigods and even in Krishna actually come. They manifest in the person of such a surrendered soul, of a pure devotee of the Lord. So because this pure devotee has the quality of surrender and devotion, all the other qualities automatically come in due course of time. Many times we see that some devotees may exhibit some qualities which are not very pleasant. So yes, certainly some corrective action may be taken sometimes. Like if a devotee, for example, is very angry, speaks harshly with devotees. Wonderful devotee, chant 32 rounds every day, but gets angry at other devotees. Certainly the devotee will understand, well, I'm not supposed to be like this. I'm supposed to become humble, I'm supposed to become sober, I'm supposed to be kind, compassionate, cheerful. So it is a duty of the devotee to reflect that this is not how I should be as a devotee. Krishna will not be pleased. And at the same time, if the devotee is sincere and is not offending devotees, other devotees, then because that person is a sincere, surrendered devotee, the other qualities will manifest gradually in course of time. In the Harinam Chintamani, it is explained that for anything there are two types of characteristics. One is called a Svarupa Lakshan, the other is called Tatastha Lakshan. Svarupa Lakshan means the primary characteristic, and the Tatastha Lakshan means the secondary characteristic. So the primary characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord is Krishnaika Sharana. That he or she is fully surrendered exclusively to Krishna, not to anybody else. In the Sarvadharman Parityajya verse, it is explained that one must give up all varieties of religion. So the question may be asked that Krishna says, Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I descend into this world in every yuga to establish dharma, to establish religion. And then Krishna says here, give up all the religion. So he has come here to establish religion or to tell us to give up religion? Because both these verses seem to contradict each other. No, certainly Krishna is not telling us to give up religion, but he is speaking in this 66th verse of the 18th chapter a very important point. That surrender to him is the real religion. All other religions or processes of religion or any other dharma should be given up. One should completely surrender to Krishna. So when he says Sarvadharman Parityajya, he is saying everything else apart from Mam Ekam Sharanam, apart from exclusive shelter of my lotus feet, every other form of dharma is to be rejected. So Krishna Bhakti alone is the supreme dharma. So this is the meaning of Krishnaika Sharana. No need to worship the demigods. No need to take refuge of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, Karma yoga, Jnana yoga. No need to take refuge of so many other processes that may be there. Devotional service by complete shelter of Krishna's lotus feet is sufficient. And it is explained that all the other qualities are the Tatastha Lakshana. Surrender to Krishna is the main quality, and all the other qualities will come automatically as a result of that. So in other words, Krishna's qualities or the devotee's pure qualities are a consequence of his surrender to Krishna. So just see how wonderful surrender is. Just surrender to Krishna and everything else will manifest. So therefore there's something special about this quality of the devotee that attracts Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further explains that there are two kinds of pure devotees. One is called the Akinchana, who has no material desires. And the other is called the Sharanagata, that he is completely surrendered to Krishna. He says both are wonderful, but the Sharanagata devotee has one quality which is very special. That's called Atma Samarpana, self-surrender. And such a spirit of self-surrender pleases Krishna very much. So one becomes very, very dear to Krishna as a result of such surrender. So this was a few words about the Sharanagata, the devotee who has surrendered. Now let's talk about the process of surrender. Sharanagati. We mentioned briefly yesterday that Rupa Goswami has mentioned in the list of his 64 items of sadhana bhakti, the 52nd is Sharanagati, to accept the process of surrender to Krishna. And that is something that is very dear to him. Rupa Goswami quotes a very nice verse. Tvam prapannosmi sharanam deva deva janardana iti yaha sharanam praptaha kleshadharayamyaham. This is the Lord himself speaking. It's from the Narasimha Purana. So the Lord is saying that if anybody comes to me and says, Tvam prapannosmi sharanam, ki I have surrendered to you and have come to accept your shelter, O Deva Deva Janardana, O Janardan, the Lord of all Lords. The word Janardan means one who gives refuge and takes away all the unfavorable qualities of somebody, all the misery he takes away. So, O Janardana, I have come to you to surrender at your lotus feet and accept your shelter. So the Lord himself says, Iti yaha sharanam praptaha. If somebody comes to me taking my shelter like this, kleshadharayamyaham, I deliver this person from all misery and suffering. This is the Lord's promise. There's another scripture, a nice scripture. It is not very popular, but some of the verses that come across from this scripture are quoted in Nectar of Devotion, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so on. And that's one of the Pancharatra scriptures, the Sattvata Tantra. And there is an interesting dialogue here about many topics of devotional service, including surrender. And the dialogue is taking place between Lord Shiva and Narad Muni. Having spoken about the process of surrender, Lord Shiva says that surrender to Krishna's lotus feet is a root of devotional service. And if one tries to perform devotional service without surrendering to Krishna, it is like trying to drink water from an earthen pot that has not been baked. Have you ever tried that? When you have a mud pot, what happens to the mud pot? Collapses. And anyway, you'll have mud all over into your mouth, yes? But when you bake the pot, then it becomes nice and strong, and it can hold the water nicely. You can drink to your heart's content. But if you try to render devotional service without any spirit of surrender, then it is hard for it to sustain. And you will not get the sweet taste of Krishna consciousness. So surrender means Tava Asmi, I am yours, my dear Lord. Whatever you wish, that will be done. To give up one's freedom and accept the Lord's pleasure as one's all in all. Even if it is displeasing to me, I will do that for the Lord's pleasure. This is surrender. We know the story of the gopis that Prabhupada used to tell many times. At one time Krishna had a headache and Narad Muni was very worried. And he called so many doctors and none of them were able to cure Krishna's headache. They gave so many medicines and everything, but it didn't work. Finally Krishna said there's only one medicine, and that is the dust from the feet of my devotee. So then Narad Muni was flabbergasted. He said, how is that possible? Which devotee is going to do such a thing? It's going to be sacrilege. It is offensive. So he went around asking everybody and nobody was willing to give, because how can we give the dust of our feet on Krishna's head? That's impossible. We'll go to hell. Then Narad Muni came back disappointed, and then Krishna said, all right, now you go to the gopis of Vrindavan. So Narad Muni went to the gopis and they said, really, Krishna has a headache? And the only cure is that we should give him the dust from our feet to put on his head. No problem, take as much dust as you want. But Narad Muni said, don't you know that you will go to hell, perhaps eternally, for doing such a thing? He said, doesn't matter. If we are in hell, if we are able to give Krishna relief from his headache for even 1 second, our going to hell is something very satisfying to us. So this is surrender. When we have a spirit that we want to do everything only for Krishna's pleasure, not for my pleasure. My pleasure doesn't have a role to play in this devotional service. So the meaning of what Lord Shiva is saying is that devotional service done without this spirit of wanting to do everything for Krishna's pleasure, of having no consideration of one's own pleasure, that is something very, very wonderful. But if we don't have that spirit of surrender, then the devotional service is not very pleasing at all. And then Lord Shiva speaks about the glories of taking Sharana or shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. And Narad Muni wants to know more about Krishna Padabja Sharana. Pada means feet, Abja means lotus. Sharana means shelter. So Narad Muni says to Lord Shiva, please tell me more about the process of taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna Padabja Sharana. And Shiva speaks a very beautiful verse. He defines what is surrender. He says, Kaya van manasa sakshat Krishna paramapurushe parinishthashrayam yadvai sharanam parikirtitam. He defines what is Sharana, or taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Kaya van manasa sakshat. With one's body, with one's words, and with one's mind. If one takes complete shelter, parinishta ashrayam yadvai. If one takes complete shelter of Krishna's lotus feet with one's body, mind, and words, that is called surrender. So a sannyasi is supposed to be surrendered. Not that I am, but at least the order I represent is like that. So the stick is supposed to have 3 sticks actually. It represents the body, the mind, and the words. The body, mind, and words are supposed to be surrendered to Krishna. That is the reason why we carry this stick. Many times people ask us, not many times, every time I go at the airport, invariably the question arises, what is this? Then I have to tell them it's a stick. A stick? What for? Why are you carrying a stick? So then I have to explain what it means. Some people ask, is it a fishing rod? So one time another sannyasi had been asked this, and he said yes, and he quoted the Bible and said it's to fish men from this world, from the ocean of material existence, fish them out and take them, It's a fishy world anyway. Sometimes when people ask me, they always ask in some of the other satsang. So one time a journalist asked, so I said, this is for those journalists who ask me difficult questions. This is to deal with them. Even in the class sometimes, I just tell as a precautionary measure right in the beginning, they don't ask me difficult questions. And secondarily, it is a symptom of surrender. So there's a 4th stick, actually speaking. It's called Tridanda, 3 dandas. But there's a 4th stick that represents the soul. It's curved stick. So that represents the surrender of the soul. So body, mind, words, and the very soul is surrendered to Krishna. That is the meaning of surrender. This is a danda. So danda in Sanskrit means not only a stick, but it also means punishment. So when somebody carries this stick, it means that he must punish his body, his mind, and his words to not use his body for anything other than Krishna's service. Do not think about anything other than Krishna's service. Do not speak about anything not connected with Krishna's service. So you have to punish yourself because the mind will want to think of so many things. The body wants to do so many things. But you have to punish. So this is also a rod of punishment, of self-punishment. So this is how the spirit of surrender is so much part of our devotional life. Of course, it is not that it's only a sannyasi who surrendered. Any devotee is supposed to be a surrendered devotee. Devotional service is not dependent on our ashram. One may be a grihastha or a brahmachari, vanaprastha or a sannyasi. One may be a male or a female, but one must be surrendered as a devotee to Krishna. One must try to do the best one can for Krishna's service. Lord Shiva then goes on to explain that there are 3 stages of surrender. Very nice analysis. He said there is Prathama, Madhyama and Shrestha. Prathama means the initial stages of surrender. Madhyama means the intermediate stage of surrender. And Shrestha means the highest stage of surrender. So what is the Prathama or first stage of surrender? When one has the conviction that if one follows the principles of religion, if one goes to the holy places of pilgrimage, if one surrenders to Krishna, then one will become free from sinful reactions. That is the initial stage of surrender. Why is it only initial? Can somebody say? Correct, because there is no love of Godhead yet. One is only thinking of freedom for oneself. I want to be free from sinful reactions. Why? Because sinful reactions mean suffering. So you will find many people who will go for different parikramas to holy places. In India, it's very common. They may not be regular practicing devotees in their day-to-day life. They're just pious people. So they will still go, they sacrifice their time, energy, money and so on, go to visit these holy places, take bath in the Ganga. They'll be very respectful to the sadhus and so on. But what is their goal? To be free from sinful reactions. Therefore, this is the initial stage of surrender. Then comes the Madhyama stage, the intermediate stage, where the devotee says, my dear Lord, my house, my family, my money, my car, my property, it's all available for your service. So please use it for your service. Which is good, very good. But it's not yet the highest. So what is the highest or the Shrestha Sharanagati? Shrestha Sharana? The highest stage of surrender is when the devotee, out of love, says to Krishna, my dear Lord, I am yours utterly. My body, my mind, my words, and my everything belong to you. I am yours. I am your sold out slave. Do with me as you like. So this conception and the conviction that I am yours, Tava Asmi, and everything that is mine is also actually yours. This is the highest stage of surrender. And as we have discussed, from surrender, as we go deeper and deeper, the surrender also becomes deeper and deeper. And the devotion increases. There is no limit to surrender. When we talk of the highest stage of surrender, it doesn't mean that you reach there and then stop. You continue. It's an endless process. And then your devotion grows and grows and grows. The residents of Vrindavan are the highest examples of surrender. I just gave you one example of Krishna's headache and the gopis. And the residents of Vrindavan, the Brajavasis, their surrender to Krishna is so deep that it goes beyond the stage of Tava Asmi, I am yours, to the level where they say, Krishna, you are mine. Mamatva. Do you get this point? It's one thing to say, Krishna, I am yours. But you come to a point and you say, Krishna, you are mine. Yes? Krishna is my property. In Vrindavan, the love of the Brajavasis for Krishna is so deep. They don't think of Krishna as God. That is a special qualification or quality about Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, Krishna is simply a lovable cowherd boy. He is not loved because he is God. In the early stages of surrender, yes, including the third stage, Shrestha, one understands him to be God. But when we come to the platform of the Brajavasis, at that time even the stage, I am yours is automatically included because they are willing to do everything. At the higher stage, all the lower stages are included. But now the Brajavasis have this feeling of proprietorship over Krishna. Krishna is my property. Krishna shall do what I say. In surrender, I will do what Krishna says. But the Brajavasis say, Krishna, you will do what I say. Or else just see. If Krishna is playing with his cowherd boyfriends, he's playing some games, and Mother Yashoda comes and says, Krishna, it is lunchtime. Why are you not coming back here for lunch? Are you some orphan street urchin who is just running here and there? Do you not have a home? Do you not have parents? Come back immediately and take your food. And Krishna starts getting afraid. So Mother Yashoda is saying, do as I say, or else you will get a big scolding. Mamatva. Mama means mine. Mamatva means mineness. That means that idea, the conception that Krishna is mine. And I can do what I like with him. Of course, for his pleasure, out of love, not out of exploitation, of course. And then when Krishna gets a little nervous, because Mother Yashoda is angry with him, he wants to leave the place and looks around nervously at his friends. And after Mother Yashoda leaves, the friends will say, Krishna, you dare not go now. If you go now, we will never take you again for playing. So Krishna is caught now. What does he do? The cowherd boy is also ordering him, Krishna, you better stay here, don't go. So the cowherd boys are not telling Krishna, you are the Supreme Lord, whatever you like. If you wish, you go and take your meals. If you wish, you may stay. No, you better stay. You must stay here. So this is called Mamatva. So when we come to the platform of Shrestha Sharanagati, the higher surrender, when we say Tava Asmi, I am yours, and we render devotional spirit, a service in that spirit, and if we are following in the footsteps of the Brajavasis, not otherwise, if we are following in the footsteps of the residents of Vaikuntha, who worship Lakshmi Narayan in a mood of awe and reverence, then this Tava Asmi will always remain. That is also glorious, no doubt. But only in Vrindavan will you find this Mamatva. The feeling or the conception that Krishna is my property. Whereas earlier it is said, I am Krishna's property. Many times people say, the Mayavadis say, we are gods. You are also God, I am God, we are all gods. But the correct understanding is, we are God apostrophe S. That means, we are God's property. So this is surrender. And as we go along like this, we have to cultivate the moods. We have to think very carefully about the way the Brajavasis loved and served Krishna. And we have to see how wonderful is their love. They were completely dependent on Krishna. And Krishna would never like it when the Brajabasis would start looking to him for orders. He always looked to them for orders. Even the gopis would get angry with Krishna, the younger gopis. And Krishna would find the rebuking words of the gopis more pleasing than the words of the Vedas, the prayers of the Vedas, the prayers of the demigods. So this is the spirit of Vrindavan. So anyway, coming back to Lord Shiva's statements, Lord Shiva then defines surrender again, and this verse has been quoted in the Nectar of Devotion or the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I quoted this verse yesterday. Tavasmi vadan vacha tathaiva manasa vidan tat sthanam ashritas-tanva modate sharanagataha. Where it is said that if a devotee comes to the Lord and says, Tava asmi vadan vacha tathaiva manasa vidan, that my body, mind and words, with these three I am yours, I am surrendered at your lotus feet. And if we take shelter, tat sthanam ashritas-tanva, then automatically he becomes blissful. He develops divine bliss. So Srila Jiva Goswami has explained that the word Sharana has two components. One is Ashraya and the other is Raksha. Sharana means surrender. So the two components of surrender are, number one, Ashraya means shelter and Raksha means protection. So when we surrender to the Supreme Lord, we are taking shelter of Him and we also seek protection from Him. So this is the purport of the word Sharana. So Lord Shiva goes on to say that when a person takes shelter of Krishna in this way, then automatically he sees no other shelter apart from Krishna, the devotees, and the process of devotional service. And such a devotee actually becomes very, very dear to Krishna. Then Lord Shiva goes on to say another very important verse, which is there in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. He says, I'll tell you some more symptoms of surrender. And then he speaks this one verse, which talks about the 6 divisions of surrender. Many of you may be familiar with this verse. So interestingly, it is actually spoken by Lord Shiva. Lord Vishnu had spoken that to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva has spoken to Narad Muni. It appears in the Satvata Tantra. Then it appears in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada also quoted this many times. So this is a very, very important verse for us, and particularly in relation to this topic. Because this verse describes what is surrender. Practically speaking. Because people ask, well, I want to surrender to Krishna, but what does it mean, practically speaking, to surrender? So here is the answer. So let us chant this verse together. This is quoted from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 22, text 100. Spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam Rakshishyati vishvaso Goptritve varanam tatha Atmanikshepakarpanye षड्विधा शरणागतिः आनुकूल्यस्य संकल्पः प्रातिकूल्यस्य वर्जनम् रक्षिष्यतीति विश्वासो गोप्तृत्वे वर्णम् तथा आत्मनिक्षेपकार्पण्ये षड्विधा शरणागतिः Can we have two from the Prabhu side and two from the Mataji side chanting this verse? Anukulyasya sankalpah Pratikulyasya varjanam Rakshishyati iti vishvasa Goptritve varanam tatha Atmanikshepakarpanye षड्विधा शरणागतिः आनुकूल्यस्य संकल्पः प्रातिकूल्यस्य वर्जनम् रक्षिष्यतीति विश्वासो गोप्तृत्वे वर्णम् तथा आत्मनिक्षेपकार्पण्ये षड्विधा शरणागतिः आनुकूल्यस्य संकल्पः प्रातिकूल्यस्य वर्जनम् रक्षिष्यतीति विश्वासो गोप्तृत्वे वर्णम् तथा आत्मनिक्षेपकार्पण्ये षड्विधा शरणागतिः आनुकूल्यस्य संकल्पः प्रातिकूल्यस्य वर्जनम् रक्षिष्यतीति विश्वासो भोक्तृत्वे वर्णम् तथा आत्मनिक्षेपकार्पण्ये षड्विधा शरणागतिः. Translation. The 6 divisions of surrender are the acceptance of those things favorable to devotional service, the rejection of unfavorable things, the conviction that Krishna will give protection, the acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian or master, full self-surrender and humility. How many of you would like to memorize this verse? Very nice. How many of you already have memorized this verse? Okay, 3 or 4 devotees. So please do try to memorize this verse because it is a very important verse for us. Shadvidha Sharanagatihi. Sharanagatihi means surrender. Shadvidha means the 6 types or the 6 divisions. Shad means 6. So the first one is Anukulyasya Sankalpaha. To be determined to accept only those things that are Anukul. Anukul means favorable to what? To devotional service. That's the first one. Anukulyasya Sankalpaha. The second one is Pratikulyasya Varjanam. To be determined to give up all those things that are pratikul or unfavorable to devotional service. The third, Rakshishyati iti Vishvaso. That Vishvas or faith or conviction that Krishna will protect me. Rakshishyati. Not only that he can protect me, but he will protect me. It's not enough to think that he can. What if he doesn't still? Right? He can, but he won't. No, he can and he will protect me. Goptritve Varanam. Tatha means also. So Goptritve Varanam means to accept Krishna as one's guardian or master or one's maintainer. Atmaniksheba. Full surrender. Self-surrender to Krishna. Karpanye. Karpanye means to think oneself very small. Be very humble. So these are the 6 items of surrender. So one has to follow these 6 to do in the process of doing devotional service. So when one surrenders, one will try to accept these 6 principles very, very sincerely in one's life. Srila Bhakti Thakur has written a book of songs, and that book is titled Sharanagati or Surrender. And he has composed songs according to each of these 6 categories. And in each category, there are several songs. So what we will be doing is, for each category, we'll sing one song of Bhakti Thakur. So probably we'll have time only for one song or maybe 2 today. Let's see how it goes. One song maybe. And we'll start from the beginning. Anukulyasya Sankalpaha. So accepting things that are favorable for devotional service. That's the first symptom of surrender. So can we have the song? Actually, there is an introduction before we do that where so we'll sing 2 bhajans actually today. This is from the introduction to Sharanagati. Before he actually goes on to describing each of the 6 symptoms, in this first song he talks about the 6 in general. So let me read the translation first. Is there a translation first for this? This song is called Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kori. Translation. Out of compassion for the fallen souls, Shri Krishna Chaitanya came to this world with his personal associates and divine abode to teach Sharanagati, surrender to the Almighty Godhead, and to freely distribute ecstatic love of God, which is ordinarily very difficult to obtain. This Sharanagati is the very life of the true devotee. The ways of Sharanagati are humility, dedication of the self, acceptance of the Lord as one's only maintainer, faith that Krishna will surely protect, execution of only those acts favorable to pure devotion, and renunciation of conduct adverse to pure devotion. The youthful son of Nanda Maharaj, Sri Krishna, hears the prayers of anyone who takes refuge in him by this sixfold practice. Bhakti Vinod places a straw between his teeth, prostrates himself before the two Goswamis, Sri Rup and Sri Sanatan, and he clasps their lotus feet with his hands. I am certainly the lowest of men, he tells them weeping, but please make me the best of men by teaching me the ways of Sharanagati. By singing, hearing and trying to understand bhajans of great acharyas like Bhakti Vinod Thakur, we can get, if not an entrance, at least a peep into the great mysterious world of devotion. We aspire to enter into that kingdom of devotion. So these are all the preparatory phases of training that the acharyas are giving us. So they are teaching us how we should be thinking, how we should be aspiring. It is very inspirational for us. So let us chant this bhajan. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kori Swaparshadasya Dhamma Saha Avatari Atyanta Durlabha Prema Kori Baredana Shikhaya Sharanagati Bhakatera Prana Daitya Atma Nivedana Bhokritve Varana Avashya Rakshibe Krishna Vishvasa Palana Bhakti Anukula Matra Karya Rasikara Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Varjanangikara Sharanga Sharanagati Kori Bejahara रूप सनातन पदे दन्ते तृणकारी भक्ति विनोद पड़े दो पद धरी कांदिया कांदिया बोले आमी तो अधमा शिखाए शरणागति कर है उत्तम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे So although it is very simple Bengali, it is Bengali but it is very simple Bengali, and I'm sure many of you who understand Hindi or Gujarati or some Indian languages will very easily be able to follow. For those of you who don't follow, we have already read the English translation. So basically Bhakti Vinod Thakur in this song is requesting, beseeching Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis that please make this lowest of men into the best of men by teaching him the ways of Sharanagati, of surrender. Because when one becomes a surrendered devotee of the Lord, then one becomes very dear to Krishna. So this surrender, Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, is the very life and soul of the pure devotees. So having given an introduction to the 6 divisions of surrender, let's take the first one that is there in the verse that we just discussed. Anukulyasya Sankalpaha. So in this category, Bhakti Vinod Thakur has composed several songs, and we'll sing now one of these songs. And it's a very famous song, well known in the devotee community, and especially in Vrindavan in our Krishna Balaram temple. We sing it every Ekadashi just before the class begins, Srila Prabhupada's class. Which song is that? Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anukula. Right? So let us chant this bhajan now. Probably I will explain this bhajan tomorrow. We'll just sing it now. Shuddha Bhakata. Hare Krishna. See the power of purity. Should we say Shuddha Bhakata, it immediately went into an ecstatic trance, the sound system. Shuddha Bhakata चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूल भगत सेवा परम सिद्धि प्रेमलती कर मूला प्रेमलती कर मूला शुद्ध भगत चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूल शुद्ध भगत माधवती थी भक्ति जननी जतन पालन कोरी माधवती थी भक्ति जननी जतन पालन कोरी कृष्ण बसती बोली परमादर कोरी शुद्ध भगत चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूल गौरामार्ज सब स्थाने करल ब्राह्मण नांगे शेषव स्थान हेरिब आमी प्रणय भगत संगे शुद्ध भगत चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूल मृदंगवाद्य शुनित मन अवसर सदा जाचे गौरवित कीर्तन शोभे आनंद हृदय नाचे शुद्ध भगत चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूल जुगल मूर्ति देखिया मोर प्रसाद सेवा करिते हय सकल प्रपंच जय शुद्ध भक्त चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूल जेदिन गृहे भजन देखी गृह ते गोलोक भाई चरण सिधु देखिया गंगा सुख सीमा पाय शुद्ध भक्त चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूल भक्तिहीन कृष्ण भजने अनुकूल पाय प्रति दिवसे परम सुखे स्वीकार करता शुद्ध भक्त चरण रेणु भजन Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. your homework till tomorrow's class begins is to go back home, see your Vaishnav songbook, see this bhajan, and read the translation carefully and understand it line by line. And we'll talk about it tomorrow when we meet 3 o'clock, right? 3 o'clock. And then we'll be discussing all these different limbs of surrender. So thank you very much. If there's any questions for 5 minutes, we can entertain some. Yes. The question is that it was mentioned in the course of the lecture that one can ask for protection from the Lord. So what kind of protection is it? We will discuss that more when we discuss Rakshishyati iti Vishvaso. So that is the third symptom we'll come to. Anukulyasya sankalpa is the first, Pratikulyasya varjanam second, Rakshishyati iti Vishvaso. So when we discuss that, we'll talk about protection. Any other question? Yes. 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 No. I somehow missed singing it. Yeah. Number 7, I just... No. So let us sing it actually. Finish that one verse. Somehow I skipped it. Thank you for pointing out. Number 7. तुलसी देखी जुड़ाय प्राण माधव तोषण जानी गौर प्रिया शाक शिवने जीवन सार्थक माने Hare Krishna. Any other question? One last question, yes. Between sin and aparad, yes. The question is, how does one understand whether something is a sin or an aparad? A sin is an ordinary violation of the laws of the scripture. Stealing, telling lies, killing, all these things are sins. But an aparad is something that is specifically an offense against the Lord or His holy name or His devotees, like that. Then it is an offense, yes. Yes. Anybody else? Just see? Okay, yes. All the options you have mentioned could be done in different circumstances. Yeah, it came in the mic. Oh, you mean you didn't get it there? Okay, so the question was that when one is in a work situation in the office, then should one just accept everything as Krishna's will and hope Krishna will protect, or is there something that one should do proactively to set things right or whatever? Yes, both. It could depend on the circumstances. Sometimes inaction is also an action. We would prefer to just let things go. Let's say somebody is doing some little politics against you in the office. All right, let it go. Not a big thing. Why to disturb yourself with that? But if it's a major thing, you might want to point out something in a certain way. So it all depends on the circumstances. We have to see case to case. The principle is you have to protect your Krishna consciousness. Do the needful to protect your Krishna consciousness. Okay? Yes. So there's a question, there are some devotees who believe only in Sharanagati but don't believe in chanting. So it's like saying, suppose I come to you and say, Prabhu, I am fully surrendered to you. And then you say, well, that's nice. So can you please bring me a glass of water? I'm thirsty. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to go somewhere. I'm busy. Okay, well, when you come back, maybe you can bring something for me from the shop. Oh, really, I think I'll be too tired. So then, is that Sharanagati or surrender meaningful? So, surrender means that one is willing to do everything to please the object of surrender. One is willing to, at the very least, be obedient, to obey. So, Lord Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita is that we must always chant His glories. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha prataya. So with firm determination, we should always chant His glories. And everywhere in the scriptures, the process of chanting the holy names has been recommended as the way for this age. So if we are truly surrendered, then we should follow the Lord's orders for us, which is to chant the holy names. So one must chant. So one cannot be truly surrendered to the Lord unless one follows His instructions. Okay? Yes. The question is that there are some devotees who want to surrender to Krishna. They don't mind coming and doing service, but they don't want to accept a spiritual master, or they don't want to come into any organization. Well, the answer is, to that degree, their progress will be restricted. So with whatever sincerity they are offering devotional service will definitely be beneficial for them. But if they want to move ahead beyond a certain stage, one has to become very serious about Krishna consciousness. So the Supreme Lord and also the Acharyas have given us so many different items of devotional service that we must do. Association of devotees, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy names in the company of devotees, worshipping the deity, worshipping Tulasi. Some of these things we can do at home, but we still need the association of devotees. And when devotees come together, eventually beyond a certain number of devotees, you need an organization. So long as you're a very small group of devotees, you can meet together informally in somebody's home over here and there. But eventually, as the number of devotees grows, you want some formal thing. You want a place of your own where you can exclusively serve. You can have nice deity worship. People can gather. It is not one person's private home, but it is a temple. And the moment you have all that, then all the other things of an organization start. So these are not necessarily bad things, they're very good things because they facilitate our devotional service, because they help us to get the association of devotees. Srila Prabhupada used to say, for chanting Hare Krishna, I could just sit under a tree and chant, but who would have come to me? In Tompkins Square Park he started, so he got some hippies coming to him. But today if you sat in the park, you wouldn't get too many people. But he said if you have a nice big temple, then many people will come. Being attracted by the opulence of the temple, they will come. So we want to bring people to Krishna consciousness, so sometimes organization is required. But at the end of the day, we must realize that all this organization and everything is meant for a purpose. And that purpose is that we should become Krishna conscious. Okay? So alright, then we'll stop here. It's quite late, 9:20 almost. So thank you very much, and we will meet again tomorrow afternoon. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.